Hey yo, what's up guys? So recently I made a video covering the tragic death of a Ukrainian refugee, Iryna Zarutska, who fatally lost her life at the hands of a deranged black man, but according to the mainstream media, they don't know the race of the murderer, as you can see here from the recent headlines covering this horrific murder. And interestingly enough, the left-wing media is labeling the killer a Charlotte man. I guess Democrats don't really care about Ukraine unless we're sending billions of dollars in taxpayer money to the country. And the interesting thing about all this is that the left-wing media refused for days to even cover this story because they did not like the optics. A black man killing an innocent white woman. Anyways, the legacy media finally succumbed to covering this story, but only after President Trump addressed this murder during a press conference yesterday.
And there was also a horrible killing recently in Charlotte, where I talked about, and so many others, and we're going to get to the end of it. And you know, when you have horrible killings, you have to take horrible actions, and the actions that we take are nothing. This cashless bail started a wave in our country where a killer kills somebody and is out on the street by the afternoon. In many cases, going out and killing again. Cashless bail, and
Now, why would that be? Why would one story demand 100 articles and another story 0 articles? And it's because the media is more interested in the all capitals story, the narrative, than the facts or the truth. Take a look at the difference here. I want to show you the actual truth when it comes to crime. The story is about race. Race. Take a look at the black on white crimes, 385,000 in 2023. The white on black crimes, just under 118,000. You see the comparative numerical difference. But now, here's what the media actually does. They did what our camera operator just began to do a moment ago. I'm going to step out of the way. I'm going to show you literally what the media does with a camera. They zoom in on this number. This number, devoid of context.
That said, there's a lot to unpack, so in this video, I'm going to address the Democrat judge who released the murderer DeCarlos Brown Jr., who was in and out of prison 14 times, as there's new information as to why this judge had an incentive to release criminals out on the street. Also, stick to the end of this video because there's something interesting shared on social media regarding some information about the victim Iryna and her past. And if I'm going to be honest, it kind of explains why she was murdered on that train, and as much as I don't want to say this, there is some irony to this story. But before we get into all that, I want to show you more of the BS that the mainstream media is doing regarding this story.
So certain people have been looking for an opportunity to find a case like this, to make a point like this. I want to play, this is Charlie Kirk, why he says this hasn't gotten a lot of attention.
A white Ukrainian refugee was murdered just because she was white. Everybody knows that, obviously. If a random white person simply walked up to and stabbed a nice, law-abiding black person for no reason, it would be an apocalyptically huge national story used to impose national sweeping political changes on the whole country. Instead, Megan Basham, no one seems to care when a white woman gets stabbed to the death.
I mean, people like Charlie Kirk, Van, they've been looking for opportunities to make this some sort of like reciprocal George Floyd situation. And that's the part that I think he's almost giving away the game. And it's sad to see a lot of people going along with it.
You know, let me just say a couple of things. One is, I mean, what happened to that young woman was horrible. And it's everybody's nightmare. If you're in any public space, a subway, whatever, that something bad is going to happen to you or somebody you care about. So it does strike a chord. We don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering, it's wrong. Then he says that if something like that had happened the other way, there would be sweeping changes imposed on society. Where is the George Floyd Policing Act? It didn't pass.
Okay, so Van Jones pretty much put his foot in his mouth during this segment because there is video and audio evidence of the killer saying, "I got that white girl."
Right, most murders in the U.S. never become national news. This one's garnered attention for a couple of reasons. Number one, first and foremost, the recent release of that gruesome video. Second, the energy from pro-Trump activists. They picked up on this video from local news and ran with it. It's a little bit like the times when civil rights groups have raised attention about police-involved shootings. In this case, it is Trump-aligned influencers who are posting up a storm about this case on social media. Really, over the weekend, Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk, other Trump-aligned figures succeeded in making this senseless death a symbol of big city crime. And it's being used, as you said, Brianna, as a political symbol, with MAGA media calling for more forceful punishments and more incarceration. I have to say, some of the replies to Musk, some of the comments around this story are baldly racist, stoking fear of African Americans because this man attacked a white woman. The open racism on sites like X today, it's eye-popping.
CNN's Brian Stelter is 100% correct. Most murders don't garner national attention, but this one was a bit different because we actually had CCTV footage of the horrific murder. The murder of this refugee actually occurred on August 22nd, almost 3 weeks ago, but it only blew up a few days ago because that's when the CCTV footage was released. Add on top of that, she's a Ukrainian refugee who fled her country after the Russian invasion. She's also a very beautiful lady who died a very gruesome death in a public space that most of us can relate to. So this is why this is a national story, and Brian Stelter, you're an idiot. Okay, so now let's talk about this Democratic judge, Teresa Stokes, who released this career criminal that ended up costing the life of Iryna Zarutska. If you want, you can follow me on X. My handle is ModelMinority10. Anyways, there's a lot of new information about this Democratic judge, Teresa Stokes, and I'm just going to read you this tweet here. It says, Teresa Stokes, who released 14-time criminal DeCarlos Brown Jr., is also Director of Operations at Second Chance Services, a mental health and an addiction clinic in Charlotte, North Carolina. So this obviously raised the question, did this judge release violent criminals into a treatment center to get paid? Honestly, this sounds like a conflict of interest, and we need more investigations into these Democratic judges who release violent criminals out on the streets to commit more crimes.
For far too long, Americans have been forced to put up with Democrat-run cities that set loose savage, bloodthirsty criminals to prey on innocent people. Really very, very innocent people. In every place, they control radical left judges, politicians, and activists, and they've adopted a policy of catch and release for thugs and killers. In Charlotte, North Carolina, we saw the results of these policies when a 23-year-old woman who came here from Ukraine met her bloody end on a public train. And here's a picture of it. This is the picture of it. And this is a picture of the woman, a beautiful young girl that never had problems in life, with a magnificent future in this country. And now she's dead. She was slaughtered by a deranged monster who was roaming free after 14 prior arrests. We cannot allow a depraved criminal element of violent repeat offenders to continue spreading destruction and death throughout our country. We have to respond with force and strength. We have to be vicious just like they are. It's the only thing they understand. 24 of the top 25 most dangerous cities in America are run by Democrat mayors. 50 people were murdered in Chicago in recent weeks, with hundreds being shot. And it's time to stop this madness. The people of our country need to insist on protection, safety, law, and order. We have proven that it can be done because we did it right here in D.C., in District of Columbia. The capital of America was a bloodthirsty, horrible, dangerous place, one of the worst. And now it's a crime-free city, and we're going to keep it that way. It can be done. It can happen fast. All we want is, please, Mr. President, we need help. Chicago needs help. Other cities need help. We'll do what has to be done because we're going to make America safe again, and that includes our big cities. We're going to make those cities safe. Thank you.
And lastly, I want to address this photo that's been circulating on social media of Iryna Zarutska lying on her bed in her bedroom. Now, if you take a close look at this photo and zoom in, you can tell on her door she's got a BLM poster in the background. Now, I'm not trying to say anything here, but this is a Ukrainian woman who spent her entire life in Ukraine, and I'm pretty sure the black population in Ukraine is pretty much non-existent. So I don't expect her to know the ins and outs of certain people or groups, but you clearly saw that in that train video footage. Think about where she sat on that train and ask yourself, would you have taken that spot? There are plenty of other available spots on that train, but for her to pick that specific seat was single-handedly the worst decision she made. But I don't blame her because growing up in Ukraine, she just probably didn't know any better.